right now.
I stay high. I stay high.
Rusty making hits.
Nigga, I ball at the gray mic. Show this shit come to late night. Cause she know that I stay high. And she know that I stay fly. And I'm born like a mayor. Doing my thing, nigga, mayor. Couple of bitches that rollin' away. My nigga, you know that I stay high. Then I just rollin' a G5. Doing that shit so like knee high. Everybody won't beat me. Motherfucking know below the tree light. Do my thing in the peace like. Shorty getting on the knees like. All my niggas really getting money. Cause all my niggas about to weed like. We be rollin' up the loud. It be going down. Got an ounce hole in the building. We gon' blow a pound. Lil Loud, pack my nigga, we gon' show around. We be so high, nigga, ain't no going down.
You know this feeling gets me high. You never cause it's over now. I know. You never cause it's over now. You know this feeling gets me high. Can't trouble my mind. I know.
Me and Shorty, we be dumb high. Me and Shorty, we be dumb high. Me and Shorty, we be dumb high. When we rollin' up that weed. Tell Shorty we rollin' a whip. Shorty know just how this shit get. Every day when I step in the spot, everybody know I got this shit lit. I ain't gotta play, niggas know we gotta get it poppin'. All my niggas out here really moppin'. Couple girls that be really thottin'. Different options on the road, give and go. Got the dro, got the kush, got the side when I overlook. So many shows got overbooked. About to get it till I'm comatose. On the block, my nigga gotta go for broke. When the weed on me, it's in the overload. Then we coolin' out up at the Poconos. I got a potent dro, we gon' smoke it though. Whoa, got the potent loud pack, and you know we gon' smoke it though. I be really wildin' now when I'm on the road. And Shorty wildin' now too when she be on the go.
You know this feeling gets me high. You mad because it's over now. I know. You mad because it's over now. You know this feeling gets me high. Can't trouble my mind. I know. You mad because it's over now. In the end. I know. You're mad because it's over now. I know.
All right, guys, we are tuned into another episode of the Burnout Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rebecca Shelby, aka I Got My Foot on These Bitches Next. And today we're going to get into a more serious topic that is near and dear to my heart. And it's taken a lot to, open up about. But before I tell y'all my tea, we're going to get into S.STREET Media's tea. Hello, we have our sponsors here, which are S.STREET Media Crushers. If you guys are in the Bushwick area and you smoking some dope or watching my podcast or any other podcasts on our wonderful network, come by and get a crusher. Now, so today's episode is going to be about mental health. It's been a topic that I've been seeing a lot of people talk about and kind of exploit the fuck out of since the Summer Walker situation, which I am going to touch on briefly. But to give you guys a more, one of the biggest things to me is like, I hate when I see people talking about mental health when they aren't affected or don't have a close loved one affected by it, because it's kind of like, if you're not trying to push the conversation or better it, like, just shut up, because it's now becoming I think social media is kind of like glamorizing it, and we're glazing over the important parts, which is bringing awareness and getting our loved ones help. So, this is gonna be like my first time coming on camera talking about this. So I'm super emotional. I'm not gonna cry because my face is beat. Get into these flamboyant lashes. But like any kid, you know, starting middle school, it's rough. You know, you start thinking about like, where am I gonna go to high school? After high school, then college or whatever, and it's just like you're only, you know, 10, 11, but it's just such a huge step. And if you make the wrong step or you misstep, it can kind of change your, you know, early adult life. I won't say your entire life, but your early adult life might be harder than others if you don't, you know, move correctly. And what 11, 12-year old could, you know, sit there and you're like, all right, I'm gonna make all the right moves. I'm gonna do everything right. But yeah, so I always knew I was different from people. Obviously, if y'all watch this podcast, y'all like me because I'm different from people. But I never I always knew like I wasn't different in like the way like I looked or the way I talked or the way I, you know, did things. But I knew I was different in the way I thought. I knew I was different in my thoughts. I knew a lot of the feelings and things that I would feel were different. So fast forward into like middle school, I started like acting horribly. Like I just turned into like a fucking monster. And my mom just did not know what to do. Like she just was like, I don't know what to do. So my school, I've talked about this part of my mental health on a podcast, suffering with depression and things. But I had a really bad suicide scare, and I was just like, it was just like one thing after another. It just was like everything was just like triggering me. So my school kind of just urged, not even urged my mom, but basically told my mom like, yo, if you don't get this girl help, she cannot come back to school. Like there's something fucking wrong with your child. So she took the therapist, and they ran some tests, and I scored like, you know, okay. And I did like some stuff. We talked about my feelings and what my thought process was like. And at the age of 13, I was diagnosed with, I don't want to mess up everything, but bear with me, y'all. I was diagnosed with basically I have it all written down. Basically, a mixture of different like anxiety, defiance, depression, kind of like mental illnesses. I don't like, I have the names right here. I don't know if I want to get into detail of what each one is, because I don't want to like glamorize the whole like, oh, I'm crazy thing, so don't fuck with me, because I see a lot of that on social media. But dealing with those different things like combined has been a struggle for me. It's been hard. And I think one of the biggest things for me was like going throughout my whole life. Like, all right, I grew up in a Christian home, because I want to like, I give a lot of context, but I grew up in a Christian home, so you know, in Christianity, mental illness doesn't exist. It's of the devil. It's not a real thing. So to make me feel better, my mom, like when we got the paperwork back, she kind of just told me, mind you, keep in mind at the time I'm 13, so there's no way I probably would have even been able to understand what these things are. But yeah, my mom basically told me like, you just have a couple mood disorders like any regular preteen and you'll be fine. And I love my mom, but that's not true. And I'm not saying that I'm not fine. I went to counseling. Like my mom has got me help. Like this is not a dig on her, because my mom is amazing. But I think the sweeping of mental illness under the rug, especially in the Black community, is far too much. We like to sit here and act like, oh, we're okay, it's all in your head, it's all in your mind. And it is all in your brain, and your brain deserves to get taken care of. And I think that no one is going to be able to get help until we actually sit down and have a real conversation about it. Now that I said all that, I kind of worked up the courage to say what I need to say. So, basically, what I was diagnosed with is the first one, dysmia, which is also known as dysmic disorder, which is basically a long-term depression. It's very rare, and it's one of the only few depressions that are I want to say genetic. I feel like that's the wrong word, but you can inherit it. My biological parents both have dealt with severe depression, so that explains that. So that is one. I think last month was National I think Suicide Awareness Month, or mental health awareness month. I forget which one. But yeah, that was one I seen a lot of people opening up and talking about. And it's I at 13%, I guess you could say it's rare, but check on your loved ones and your loved ones with kids who might have issues. Um, the second one is general anxiety disorder. A lot of people know about that. It's basically a lot of people have general anxiety disorder. It's one of the most common ones on the spectrum, which is basically in situations like this one. You get anxious sometimes. Like it's exactly what it says. Like it's not that much. If you're watching this and you suffer with anxiety, you probably have generalized anxiety disorder. ODD, which is opposal defiance disorder. Now, this one, it kind of crushed me, kind of broke my heart when I did more research in finding out about it. Cause, like I mentioned to you guys before, like out of nowhere, I just started acting like horribly. And let me not act like I've always been like a good kid, cause like I've always I've always been defiant. I've always been like, I want to go against the grain. Like, even if I know what's good for me, like, I just don't want to listen. And a lot of times, like, you just, oh, she hard headed. Like, she just hard headed. Oh, they're just bad. They're just bad, or whatever. And, like, I'm a sweetheart. Like, I wasn't a bad kid, but just something in me was just like, I can't listen. I don't want to listen. Like even now that I'm older, now that I'm more mature and I don't flip out and spaz out and storm out and whatever anymore, it kind of, it's a pain like, oh, just listening sometimes. And ODD is something that I feel like is definitely swept under the rug in the Black community because it's seen as, oh, you're just hard-headed, you're just this. And I feel like in cases like mine and other people, when that like affects your because ultimately it affects your decision making, like even knowing that something could be good for you, like something in your brain and in your being is just telling you, no, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And that could be dangerous. And like all mental illness is all the spectrum. So some people have it worse than others. Some people can manage theirs better because it's not as bad. But all in all, the dismissiveness of mental illness, especially in the Black community, has to stop, because I think a lot of statistics would change. I feel like a lot of things, a lot of people who could have went a different way would have, if they were handled with care, instead of just like, oh, you just wilding, you just don't want to da da da. So For the fourth and final is ADHD, and I put that one last because I think a lot of people are aware about ADHD. A lot of people self-diagnose themselves with ADHD. That has became a mental illness that a lot of people have glamorized and popularized and made out like, oh, I can't sit still, I have ADHD, which is just like literally like ADHD attention, it stands for attention deficit something disorder. I forgot the H stands for, but it's just like, yo, any, which means your attention span is small, so it doesn't mean like people take it so literally, like, oh, people can't stop moving. Like, yeah, there are people like that, but there are a lot of people with ADHD that can't stop talking, i.e. me. Like, you know, it's a lot of people with ADHD that like they gotta constantly knock or they gotta constantly be writing. A lot of scholars actually think that Hamilton had ADHD because he could not stop writing. Like, just like he would write and write and write and write so much, like it was obsessive. He was obsessed with writing and being the traumas that he faced growing up on the islands before coming to the States probably had a lot to do with that, like with discipline and conforming and stuff. I could imagine that's what made him such a radical war leader, because he had ADHD. He wasn't trying to conform and be, you know, what American standards are. Enough sucking a white man's dick though, because they get enough of that. Yeah, so these things I feel like in the black community are just like, they're looked over and they're glossed over. They're made out to be like, oh, there's nothing wrong, like you just need to get it together, you just need to buckle down. And it's like, and no, sometimes people need some fucking help, some fucking mental help, and whatever that might be. If you trust taking pills, me personally, I feel like there should be a limit on it, because they're definitely, like, for example, those ADHD pills, I've heard trauma and felt trauma and horrible and heard horrible experiences about them. But there are also people who take antidepressants that say it's helped them. There are people who are schizophrenic that their pills help them. So it's all about treating yourself, whether it's counseling, medication, any extracurricular stuff like painting. Here at S.STREET Media, we have a hoist of lovely paintings. So if painting is your pastime, donate a picture to us. But yeah, it's just like, it's so many things, but you wouldn't know until taking the first step, and is acknowledging that you need help, which I recently did. So I'm gonna go talk to somebody, because I value therapy. I value talking to someone that can't judge you and doesn't genuinely give a fuck about you, because it's real. Like, they're not telling you anything like just to tell you. Well, some therapists are, which is why you have to do your research. But if you find yourself a good therapist, you do the extensive research, you take the time out to care about your mental health, you can find and talk to someone and connect with someone that doesn't know you or give a fuck about you, and doesn't have to give a fuck about you, but will give you a different perspective on your life. Because I think oftentimes that's what we need, purpose or a different perspective. Another reason why, because we're always constantly around our same influences and our same peoples. It's nice to just hear from someone who professionally could do it too, because like, you can get advice and shit like that from like your friend or from a family member or whatever, but like, if they don't think mental illness is real, then like, what could they really tell you? Like, you know what, like, you know, and even still, even if they do know it's a real thing, they're not a doctor. And I'm not saying don't take advice from your friends and family. You should always take advice from anyone that's willing. No, don't take it, but listen. Be willing to listen to any advice given sometimes. 'Cause sometimes people be trying to give advice and it's just like, bitch, I didn't need nor ask for it. Like, yo, I should have did a weekend recap before I started my podcast, but I'm gonna stay on this serious subject because I deflect a lot when it gets heavy. So let me stay on topic. So yeah, you can vent and stuff like that, but you just have to go get yourself some real help. So I had a couple of topics and stuff I wanted to talk about that go into like the whole mental health haram. So y'all probably want to hear me talk about Summer Walker, but I have some better stuff to talk about. Like, no, seriously. Cause like all I like the girl say she got social anxiety, which I don't deny. Like a lot of people are saying, oh, how you have social anxiety and used to be a stripper. Like you can get social anxiety from stripping. Like I'd be traumatized too if I was shaking my ass in a club every night for a bunch of fucking beasts. Not only that, but she was stripping because she used to be homeless. But that aside, I don't like how people like her are using mental illness as a crutch and an excuse to do shitty things or be shitty people. Like, you know, you don't leave your fans outside in the cold for hours while you run around Toronto with your boyfriend and Drake, and you don't diss your fans and not connect with them and take pictures with them because of social anxiety. I think she's a brat and she's using the shit as a crutch. But I don't like how on social media people are taking this as a opportunity to dismiss mental illness. Not only that, but I feel like the conversation of mental illness needs to be taken off social media, period. Like this needs to be something we're talking about at school, in our homes, at work, at church. Like the conversation needs to happen with real people in real spaces. And I feel like oftentimes in this generation, we get so wrapped up in social media and so wrapped up in our phones, we kind of forget and disconnect. And I feel like these are one of those things people are forgetting, that there are real people suffering. Not only that, but a lot of mental illnesses have been glamorized on social media. Like it's cute to have anxiety. It's cute to have ADHD. It's cute for bitches to say that they bipolar and they crazy. Like it's cute for niggas to be like, I need a bitch that's crazy. Like so a lot of that stuff has been glamorized. So a lot of people don't take it serious, because when you're equating being bipolar only being inactive when a nigga is acting up, yeah, a lot of niggas ain't gonna take it serious, because one, like that's fucking stupid, and two, that's not what it is at all. So I feel like when you see posts or when you post things like that, people who might not necessarily even know what mental illness is, or if Rip not gonna take it serious, because it's just like, what the fuck? So bitch, you only crazy when your nigga playing with you, like ew. But more on a serious note, it's just like, yeah, I feel like that's why the conversation of mental illness needs to be taken off of social media. It needs to be happening in more co-productive places. And I know nowadays we so plugged into our phones, it's like we don't involve ourselves with life at all. But I think these are one of the things we really need to take time out and unplug. And I feel like that's why mental health also, suicide is also at a all-time high, is because social media, we can't escape it. Like, back in the day, not saying that, you won't go through things everywhere, at home, in school, wherever, but wherever you were going through something or whatever you're going through, there was some point in the day where you can unplug, even if it was briefly, from that. Like if you were going through it at home, you could go to school, and everything else is not of the world is there. Or if you have issues at school, you can go home and there's no internet, so you can't log in and see what niggas from your school is talking about. So it's just one of those things where I feel as if we need to get back to unplugging. Like, and it's crazy because I'm on my phone 24/7. But I think even if you're on your phone. I think just unplugging from social media, like playing music off your phone, or I don't know, because YouTube could be just as toxic as fucking Facebook, like depending on what you like. But like just unplugging and just being in real life. Sometimes even reminding yourself, like in the morning, like when I wake up, I have to tell myself, like, this is real. All of this is real. Like everything around me is real. I'm not in the matrix. But it'd be fucked up if I was, bro. Like if I was telling myself this shit every single morning just to find out that this shit is a fucking dream. Mind blow. But yeah, so getting off of that, getting off Summer Walker, I kind of touched on my second point, so that's cool. Now getting into this podcast and what this podcast was started on, the burnout epidemic. So the reason why I named this podcast the Burnout Podcast is basically this is the burnout generation, and the burnout epidemic is basically millennials are working themselves so hard, like they're just like crashing, like our brains and our mental and our bodies aren't stable because like they call what did they call it, the microwave millennial or something like that. What is it called? Because you want things fast. I forgot how the fuck that shit go. But yeah, and we're just taking in so much information. It's like when we're on our phones, when we're on like in life, like just everything is so much media, so much everything around. It's just like, yeah, I need to hit that because I'm talking about some shit, y'all. But yeah, so much is just going on. It's just like people are fizzling out. Like it's so much we're generally crashing. So moving more into that, yeah, the reason why I wanted to name my podcast the Burnout Podcast is I wanted to bring awareness to the burnout epidemic. And recently, in September, it's just been passed that you can be diagnosed with the burnout. So people are getting their mental health, people are getting they just dues, because this is a serious topic. And I just feel like with social media, we take in so much information, so much ideals, so much ideologies. Like before this show, we were talking about how there's a whole black sector of Twitter. Like, you know, it's so much things you can get into on social media. You can get trapped in a false reality. It's crazy. So, going into the burnout, yeah, I wanted to bring awareness, and it's just like, you know, I have those moments, like I have panic attacks, like over, like before they used to be really bad. It felt like I was having one like every week because I was just going through a lot. But sometimes just things become so much. I just like crash, like it's just like, and I hate it. And I feel like a lot of millennials resonate with that feeling of just like a meteor riot, like this, like our little fire boy here, just like crashing into something, like just being in space, just like constantly like a moving star, like just constantly moving and burning and burning and burning and burning, and you never go out until centuries and centuries later, which who wants to do that? So, yeah, it's just like a lot. It's like a real heavy hitter. I feel like a lot of the things I deal with, like biggest, is just like feeling like I'm not doing enough of the right things. Not necessarily not doing enough, but not doing enough of the right things, and constantly reflecting like, damn, like I'm so focused on this, like should I really be focused on that, and just getting so compiled into so much stuff. It's just like, oh my god, my brain doesn't stop even when like I'm asleep. And it just like, it could get exhausting, it could get tiring, and especially if you don't have someone to talk to that you feel like relates to you. You're just sitting there with your thoughts just bouncing off each other, just bouncing, 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 bouncing. Like Remember like the old TVs, like when you would play the music channel and like the little bubble would bounce from the bottom to the TV to the other side of the TV, and it would just bounce all over the TV while the music was playing because you're not fucking with the thing. So it would just bounce it back and forth to another side, and sometimes that's how I feel my thoughts are. Like they don't go anywhere. They don't go into anything. They just sit there trapped, and eventually the bouncing space gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and then like that last like thing just boom and explodes. And it's just like it's exhausting, and like I personally in my adult life moving forward, I don't want to have to constantly have explosions. I want to be able to effectively like deal with my thoughts and deal with myself and process things effectively in a moment, or when I get time, or when I suit best, and manage my emotions and my feelings versus just exploding. Because it gets to a point where like you explode and you're upset and you look around and there's no one there to give a fuck, and you still have to figure out some solution to deal with all of these thoughts because they're just gonna jumble right back up. And yeah, so going into something more near and dear to my heart, me and Karina talked about this, which is pretty privilege. And a lot of people was like, no, girl, you need to talk about the real tea about pretty privilege because that shit you did up there was not the real tea. So I wanted to kind of go into like the I personally wanted to open up about like the psychological like damage society kind of does with its vanity on looks and features, and like you have to be perfect, you have to look a certain way. And I want to kind of go on like the opposite end on it and the toll it takes on people who benefit from pretty privilege. I'm gonna use my words correctly. Kind of like in a way with colorism, like colorism affects dark skinned women as far as economically, socially, dating wise, XYZ. Light skinned women have the advantage. However, light skinned women can still face repercussions of colorism, from being like bullied and victimized by darker skinned people, use my words correctly, because of how society treats them. I've never been bullied by a dark skinned person because I was light skinned, but people say they have, so we have to give them that. What I'm about to talk about is pretty privilege, which is I just used it to correlate because that's the only thing I could think that's close, that's synonymous. But yeah. So recently I want to say Vogue did an interview with a model who what you call it, she was like, I want to say somewhere in Russia, like she's out there like killing it, you know, crazy following, Russian Vogue, all these magazines, all this media, blah, blah, blah. And she decided to post a picture on her Instagram with without makeup on because she would get a lot of hate like, oh, you wear so much makeup, you wear so much makeup. So she wanted to like embrace her natural beauty, and the comments were disgusting. People were just like, oh, you ugly bitch, you need to put makeup on, da da da, how are you a model, this, that, and the third. And it was just horrific. So they sat down and talked with her about society's look on beauty. And basically what she said had stuck out to me, which is basically like in society we are so infatuated with beauty, we almost feel entitled to beautiful people. We feel like they can't look a certain way. So when she said that, it kind of made me think of a lot of the girls that we've been seeing get killed during catcalls going wrong. And from what I seen, all of the girls that been murdered were beautiful. And rest in peace to all of them. I can't remember their names, but it was Ebony posted a list recently. So if you go on their Instagram page, you can see it. Excuse me. Of I think it was 17 women, 17 black women that were murdered from what you call it, catcalls going bad. Obviously that's not what they called it, but I forgot what they called it. But and all of them were like beautiful, like gorgeous, like beyond, like not beyond pretty, like, but like they were really pretty. Like they were like, oh, she's cute, or like, oh, she's average. Like it wasn't like, oh, I feel fucked up. Like it wasn't like, in society a lot of the times we we feel extra bad for people that look good, and we just feel regular bad for people who are just like, average looking or ugly. So it was just like one of those things, like I just found it weird. Like usually like when people publish lists like that of they published a list of black women that were kidnapped, and there were beautiful girls on there and there were average looking girls there. And again, I'm not saying this to offend anyone. This is a really sensitive subject. So if you are insecure, you don't have the best self-esteem, and you don't know what pretty privilege is, this might not be the conversation for you, so you might have to tune out, because I'm about to say a lot of shit, y'all. But there were girls on the list that were really pretty, average looking, but like, in everything, when they post, lists bringing awareness to like violence and the sexual assault against black women, there's like a even ratio of women, so everyone can identify with them. Like they're like, that it's not just, and again, I'm not saying that a ugly person or average looking person can't get murdered from a fucking deranged catcaller. But what I had found interesting was all of the girls were just gorgeous. Like they were so beautiful. And it brought me back to that comment, because to kill someone for not saying thank you when you said, yo, excuse me, beautiful, or hey, beautiful, or whatever the fuck, is fucking deranged and crazy, which means that you are infatuated with a person that you only seen probably one time in your life or a few times in passing, that you don't know at all. So for you to kill someone, it just took me back to that remark, because it's just like you have to feel entitled. So where did that, and with like, that was the thing those women had in common, that they were all very beautiful. So I just felt like, you know what, in society sometimes it's like, there's a painful side to beauty, and people say beauty is pain, like in the aspect of people getting surgeries and people going through outrageous cosmetic surgeries, even getting your eyebrows waxed. But it's deeper than that. Beauty can literally be pain. And one of the things I feel like I've suffered with, like, I'm not fucking ugly, and I'm not tooting my own horn at all whatsoever, but a lot of times I feel like in life, people have belittled me and belittled my capability, or felt like they could treat me some kind of way because of how I look, because of my features. Then when I open up my mouth and they're like, oh shit, she's smart, people kind of get really like dismissive and sometimes angry and aggressive toward me. And I noticed that like throughout my life, how do I put it? Throughout my life, weak-minded, I'm not gonna say all men, weak-minded men have been very intimidated by me, but they weren't intimidated by me like in a sense like, oh, like, oh, she's smart, da da da, or da da da. Like, of course, that factors into it, but they were more so intimidated because, like how to put this? Because they're more so intimidated because, like, in reality, like, I want to say, how do I put this? Whew. In reality, like, if I would describe myself, like, I'm generally like a regular girl, like anybody, like I'm easy to date, like I'm like easy to be around, I'm down to earth, I'm not ugly, so you don't gotta worry about your bros being like, oh, like, what, bro, come on, you could have did better than that. So like generally, like when I meet people, they're like, oh, I know you got a boyfriend, I know you got a boyfriend, da da da. And it's always no, because, but being more serious, like, it's like when I'm like, oh, I don't have a boyfriend, I'm single, it's like, oh, why, like, why? And I feel like the reason for that is because generally weak-minded men are more so intimidated by me, because not because I'm necessarily smart, but they just don't expect me to be smart. So like average Abigail could be smart and witty and whatever the fuck, but I can't because I know how to put on eyelashes and lip line my lips. So they get more like offended, like, like, damn bitch, like, in a way, like, damn bitch, like, I would have wifed you or I would have fucked with you if you wasn't like you. Like, if you wasn't, you, because I feel like people expect me to be an airhead or they expect me not to have values. So I've noticed that, again, weak-minded men are more not intimidated by me, because they already have this preconceived notion about girls like me. And it's not fair. And I feel like a lot of times we aren't talking about the things we need to talk about. We're not having the right conversations in the right spaces, and we're not listening to the right, people and the right things. And I just remember like being like 12, 11, 10 years old. Like, I didn't even know what the fuck a smut was. Like, it was my first time hearing the word, and people were calling me that. And now I'm older and I educated myself more, and I've analyzed like situations from a more experienced side. It's just like, I just remember like, just like always being labeled as something I wasn't or something I'm not, and always having to go the extra mile to not only prove myself but also stick up for even people who are, because of this preconceived notion about me. And those people only have those preconceived notions because I'm what you would call attractive, and I'm like, just, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to gloat in myself, but I think when we have conversations like this, everyone has to have the conversation. Like, there's a lot of great girls on YouTube who talk about exactly what I'm talking about, who are average looking, or they consider themselves what society calls ugly. Like, these are all things that you guys can like look up and see different perspectives and different sides on. I'm just talking about my side. So I feel like just automatically people have these preconceived notions about me that, one, aren't true, and even if they were true, that doesn't mean I deserve to get treated with less respect. So, which goes into what I love saying which goes into, but all of this stuff is connected, guys. It's all related. Everything is connected. This brings me to patriarchy and misogyny, which basically is like a lot of people, a lot of men, like they don't even fucking realize like you don't have the right to disrespect or disregard a woman based on how you think they carry themselves, or even if you've seen how they carry themselves. Like I had a really good discussion with someone, and they're like, "Oh, I don't respect girls who don't respect themselves." I'm like, define respect. And they're like, "Oh, you walking around with your ass out, always twerking on Instagram, you don't respect yourself, so I don't respect you." I'm like, okay, how does that affect you? What is that like? What about them doing that with themselves is affecting you in a way you have to disrespect them? And they couldn't answer that. And then they was like, "Nah, don't da da da." But it's just one of those things. Those ideas and those ideologies and those things are what power misogyny and patriarchy, which is why people say things like, "Oh, well, if she didn't have that on, she wouldn't have got raped," or "Oh, if she didn't do this, maybe that wouldn't have happened," or maybe when no, regardless to what the fuck you do, what the fuck you have on, how you look as a woman, as anyone, as a human, you deserve respect if you're minding your business and going about your day. And I feel like oftentimes with things like pretty privilege and things like that, spend so much time focused on, "Oh, well, pretty girls got privilege, they get this, they get that, they have this." We aren't focusing on the bigger issue, which is there should be no such thing. Like there should be nothing. And on on both ends, things are on both ends, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I remember watching and the only reason I'm taking this back to colorism is, again, I see a lot of correlations, and I feel like a lot of things are synonymous. I never forget watching the Oprah Winfrey documentary about colorism, and a lot of the light skinned women basically said like they were like the they're like, even though they were the family's trophy, they had to be their older, not older, they had to be, well, older, younger, whatever, they had to be their siblings sacrifice and getting molested and raped by friends and family members, which was a common theme amongst a lot of the light-skinned women that were interviewed. So a lot of people like to dismiss like, "Oh, da da da, bitch, fuck out of here," this, that, and the third. And again, I'm not dismissing anyone who's dark skinned or whatever experiences, because those things affect you in different ways that I can never imagine. But we can't just be so dismissive of both sides. Especially as women, we need to focus on just being a community for each other and not segregating themselves, because I feel like a lot of time women's, we kind of self-segregate too, like, "Oh, I'm not gonna hang out with this bitch because because this, that, and the third." We just like, sometimes we could be our biggest enemy. So I feel like we need to focus on focusing the conversation where it needs to happen. And I think the conversation needs to start around the I've been saying glamorize a lot, so let me not use that word. The fetishization of attractive people. And it's nothing wrong with being attracted to an attractive person. Like, we all are. Like, that's human. If someone looks like good, we're going to be attracted to them. A fetish is something different. Fetishizing someone is basically dehumanizing and bringing, like, just taking their existence and their all and their being and not really caring about that, just caring about the outer shell, not even giving a fuck about what's on the inside, which can be dangerous. And I think the fetishization, especially in America, of conventionally attractive people is crazy. And I think once we have a productive conversation around that, and I don't want to be the one to start the conversation because I don't even know where the fuck to start it. But once we start having conversations about that, I think then we could talk about some shit. So what else do I have up here? Um, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, it's just like you never know what someone is going through. And I think the biggest thing with mental illness is we just have to stop being dismissive. We have to stop making it a thing of where it doesn't exist, because it exists. And I think the biggest like thing I think helps people understand it is I forgot which one of the Kennedy's kids it was, but he was bringing awareness to mental health, and he basically was saying it's crazy how as society we've adopted the ideals that there can be something wrong with every part of our bodies, outside and inside, except for our brains. If you need a new kidney, you go get a new kidney. If you need surgery to fix something on the inside, you get surgery. If you break your arm, you wear a cast. Like, we constantly as humans, if you get sick, if you get diagnosed with a disease, you take medicine. So as humans, if you get into an accident, you go to therapy. As humans, we're okay with taking care of every single part of our bodies except for our mind. And that's the head in charge. That's the main leader. Like, if your brain ain't strong, if your mind not strong, nothing can work. So he had basically said, to paraphrase, we've adopted the ideology that every single part of our body can be wrong except for our brains, which is crazy. And when I heard that, I was just like, wow, like that is so true. Like, that is so true. Like, we will go get medicine, go get taken care of for everything else, but as soon as somebody has a mental illness, it's just like, oh no, you're just weak, you just need to da da da. And truth is, yeah, I don't want to say weak, but you need help, and your brain isn't strong. But we shouldn't make it dismissive in a way where we're telling people they're weak and they just need to get a thicker skull, because sometimes it's not a thicker skull, and there's a lot of mental illnesses and things that we are now recently finding out are genetic and could be inherited. And for a while, people didn't even think that was true. Like, you can inherit a mental illness. So, like, the more and more, like, we just need to have this conversation, a real conversation in real places with real people. Like, the word of the show is reality today. We need to get in tune with reality, because all of this shit around us is fucking real. Like, we got a fucking orange in the White House. Kanye West say he running for 2024, and the way it's looking, that nigga could win. Cause if Donald Trump could be president, bro, I don't understand how Kanye West can't. It's like the odds at this point is just like, yo, America surprised me every day. like literally every day. But you want to know something? It's fine because um only I know I love multiverse theory. So in the last 5 minutes, I'm gonna talk about this lighthearted little subject. Because we just talked about some really deep shit. But before I stop talking about that, I wanna say this. If you or a loved one are suffering with mental illness, or you might think you are, or whatever the fuck, go get yourself some help. If you're just now tuning in and all you're hearing is go get yourself some help, you're going to have to rewatch the episode from the beginning, because I'm not going to tell you all the ways you could get help, because I've said it already. Now, the reason why I'm not worried, because math, I love multiverse theory. Everybody needs to know this about me. So, scientists think that we're getting close to finding like different Earths and different universes. So the quicker they hurry that shit up, I'm gonna go to the planet with the red vegetation, because that's the one they could see so far. They think that's a real planet, and they think with their biochemistry and whatever the fuck, the vegetation is red. So if they find out that planet is valid, that's where I'm going. So, yeah, that was really cool. I watched some shit about the universe. I like to get high and watch shit about stars. So, um, yeah, that shit was fucking cool. Yeah, so the fun, I guess your local space program, so they could hurry up and figure this shit out, because I'm ready to be the fuck out of here. America and the world surprise me every day, because y'all think America is crazy, because America is crazy. But, yo, it's some shit going on in the world that'll make y'all be like, yo, I'm staying in America. Like, if y'all knew about a lot of the ideas that's going on in, like, the world, man, like, yo, cause I like to drop small gems or whatever, cause I know a lot of people get compacted and compiled into too many things. If you watch Black Mirror, you know what transhumanism is. If you don't watch Black Mirror, but you don't know what transhumanism is, it's something that they trying to push. You probably think that they not, but they are, y'all. And you need to watch it. No, it has nothing to do with gender. It has a lot to do with robots, though. Transhumanism, look it up. But yeah, that shit is going on in the world. That's not even just America. So it's some shit going on in the fucking world. I don't know if God coming back soon or what the fuck, but yeah, this episode was definitely real. I appreciate all of y'all tuning in and just having this space. I appreciate we just passed Thanksgiving actually, so I hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving with your families. I did, for a fact. Shit was crazy. Ooh, ooh. But I had a great Thanksgiving. But on a more serious note, I am super thankful for S.STREET Media and the space that it's given me to vent and just tell y'all all my crazy ideologies and ideals. Shit, I'm always talking about everybody else shit crazy. My shit is crazy too. But yeah, like I just come up here and vent and talk my shit, but y'all love it. And I appreciate everyone that tunes into me every single Sunday and listens to me go back and forth and talk my shit, because for some reason you guys relate to me. Y'all like what I have to say. Um it's just like, I don't know. Um I'm just like extremely thankful, and I'm trying to hook up the music. That's why I was like babbling and babbling and babbling. Shantice, you gonna have to bring the thing back up on your phone. But yeah, again, I want to say I'm thankful for S.STREET Media. I want to say I'm thankful for all you guys that tune in, all you guys that are gonna tune in, all of you guys that have not tuned in yet but will eventually and will figure out it's the best thing of your fucking life. And yeah, this episode was very near and dear to my heart. Mental illness has been something I've been battling with knowingly probably my whole life, but like more so knowingly since I was about in the 6th, 7th grade, which is like a very tender age. And it's something important to me that I wanted to talk about, because I know a lot of people are battling and dealing with it every single day. So yeah, do I got any shout outs? Do I got anything? Oh, if you guys did not go pay y'all money, do not illegally stream this one. Go see Queen and Slim. You guys know we support black directors, black actors, black cast, black everything on this show. So you guys need to go out and see Queen and Slim. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Burnout Podcast. That song I played at the beginning was My Family. It was called In the Air. I'm not gonna drop they artist names and everything yet, cause they still working on it. But I know y'all fuck with it. It's not out yet. Y'all can't stream it nowhere. So y'all have no choice but to come back and watch this lovely episode again and again. I am your host, Rebecca Shelby. This is the Burnout Podcast here at S.STREET Media. I got my foot on these bitches necks, and we is a motherfucking out.
Hey girl, what's up? What's up for tonight? That ass looking right. I'm parked right outside. Talk to me nice. Ready night. Are you down for the ride? Are you down for tonight? Take you down for tonight. Just let me decide. And hey, cause baby you bad. No, is you a baddie, baby? And that's my baby. No, cause you a baddie. These bitches is sad. Saying got me saying hey, cause you a baddie, baby. Don't you know that you a baddie? Peanut cookie. Here's by your side. You can't tap her yet. We both dripping wet, we both soaking wet, and I'm not finished yet, no. Legs in the air, spread out on the bed. Now girl, have a fit, I mean girl, have a fit, and don't have to say no. Hey, cause baby you bad. No, cause you a baddie, baby. And that's what I meant. No, cause you a baddie. Oh, these bitches are sad. Oh, cause you a baddie, baby. Hey, cause you a baddie. You a baddie, baby. You got me singing, got me saying, let's get straight to it. This ain't no time to fucking play around. New the side of that booty. Make a nigga wanna settle down. Baby, we can move fast. She do her thing, and I can't complain. Cause shorty getting that cash, that is the best. Yeah, she use her brain and I'm the same. The stroke is insane. Girl, I think I'm addicted to fucking you, babe. And sweating this way. While I'm up in that thing, she keep calling my name. That pussy I tame. Make her stay in her lane, now she up on that pole. When she freaky little nose, I can't wait till when we make sweet love sounds. When we make sweet love sound good. When we make sweet love sounds. When we make sweet. Forget about the bed, you heard what I said. Now put both of your legs behind your head. She leak when she wet, and that pussy the tightest, just wanna dive in. So baby slide down, cause I can put your hair up there. Yeah, let me see you work that chair. 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 Yeah, let me see you work that. Popping on these bands, watching her work, but they make me lose it. Do it with no hands, watching her twerk. Baby, I'll abuse and I'll do it slow. She a freak on the low, and she feelin' my flow and she watching me groove. Help her get in the mood, and I make her come to when I stick and I move. No, my baby ain't scared, yeah, she always prepared. We be rockin' all night, shawty riding that vibe. I can see in her eyes, I can tell by her face. While I'm gripping her waist, she all over the place, so let me get a taste. It's your body I crave, and I can't wait till when we make sweet love sounds. When we make sweet love sound good. When we make sweet love sounds. When we make sweet love. Forget about the bed, you heard what I said. Now put both of your legs behind your head. She leak when she wet, and that pussy the tightest, just wanna dive in. So baby slide down, cause I can put your hair up there. Yeah, let me see you work that chair. 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 Yeah, let me see you work that. And I know what she wants, I got what she needs, yeah. Ain't no doubt about she leaving with me, yeah. As we up and grind, get down on my knees, yeah. Now she more than I like, screaming, Betty, please. Now when we make sweet love songs.